The war was over. Everyone knew this. The Grand Confluence, a tapestry of 1,000 species woven across the stars, had triumphed over the relentless, devouring hunger of the hive. Their victory was absolute, their supremacy unchallenged. Now they curated the galaxy. A Confluence archivist descended to the surface of Sol 3, a world listed in the registers as a quarantined preserve. Its designation was simple: Homo sapiens defunct, aggressively non-convergent, terminated during the hive conflict for the safety of all. The planet was to be catalogued, its biological and historical artifacts sampled for the great archives, and then sealed under a preservation dome. It was a routine operation. The archivist, whose name was a soft chime of meaning, denoting keeper of quiet truths, moved through the silent ruins of a city humans had called London. His multi-lensed eyes recorded the crumbling spires, the vines reclaiming steel. His people had always found humans baffling. They were contradictions made flesh, builders of breathtaking beauty and appalling violence, dreamers of cosmos-spanning peace and inventors of planet-cracking bombs. Their sudden, total extinction by a hive splinter fleet had been noted as a tragic, if inevitable, ecological correction. His scanner pinged, highlighting a structure of unusual density and electromagnetic dampening. It was a low, broad building of aged stone, nestled by a sluggish river. Its entry was sealed by a door of physical metal, a quaint and defiantly analog barrier. A carved inscription, translated by his overlay, read, "The British Library." With a gesture, the molecular bonds of the door weakened, and it swung inward with a groan. Inside, the air was still and cool, thick with the scent of aged cellulose and dust. Endless rows of shelving stretched into darkness, holding bound packets of tree pulp, books. The Confluence stored data in coherent photon matrices. This was primitive, fragile, and shockingly volumetric. He wandered the aisles. His internal systems, cross-referencing titles, philosophy, poetry, astrophysics, history, fiction. The categories were endless, the perspectives dizzying. One human, he noted, could hold in their mind a love for delicate sonnets, a working knowledge of orbital mechanics, a belief in a benevolent deity, and a fondness for competitive physical games. It was cognitive anarchy. His mission was to take a core sample, 100 items, to represent the totality of the human experience. A simple algorithm could do it, but Quiet Truths felt a compulsion to choose manually. He selected a volume of star charts, a treatise on quantum mechanics, a collection of botanical illustrations, a heavy tome detailing something called the Geneva Conventions. Each choice felt increasingly inadequate, that it was deep in the restricted archives, behind a second, more formidable door he had to disassemble, that he found the special collections. Here, the books were older, locked in clear cases. A first folio of Shakespeare, fragments of Homer on papyrus, the Gutenberg Bible, and then, in a plain case by itself, a single, unadorned data slab of a design his scanner did not recognize. It was not Confluence tech nor Hive. It was human, but of a sophistication, the records claimed, they never achieved. His touch activated it. A holographic interface flickered, stark and efficient. A login prompt appeared, and below it, a line of text in a dominant human lingua franca, Project Echolocation. Final report. Access. Omega priority. Quiet Truths felt the first tremor of something his species had no word for. A cold, intellectual dread. He input standard override codes. They failed. He applied decryption nodes. They were rebuffed. The slab security was elegant, impenetrable, and utterly alien. It was a lock with no key he possessed. For 27 cycles, he worked. He abandoned his core sampling. He ignored queries from the orbital curation vessel. This puzzle was all that existed. He studied human coding theory, their history of encryption, their logic traps. Finally, in a moment of frustration, he did something illogical. He spoke to the slab. "Identify yourself." The slab remained inert. He tried a different approach, reciting a line of human poetry his scans had recorded from a nearby open book. To strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. A soft hum filled the air. A biometric scanner deployed from the slab. A voice, synthesized and calm, spoke. User identified. Biometric signature required. Place hand on panel. The archivist had no hand that matched the human form, but he had a flexible manipulator limb. He pressed it against the light. "Genetic and dermal analysis complete," the voice stated. "Non-human entity detected. Contingency protocol engaged." Playing message. The air above the slab shimmered. A human appeared. She was aged, her hair white, her eyes a piercing blue behind simple glasses. She wore a white coat. She did not look like a warrior. She looked like a librarian. "I am Director Elara Vance," she said, her tone calm, measured, yet heavy with a gravity that transcended species. "If you are viewing this, then Project Echolocation has succeeded in its primary objective, the survival of at least one non-human, spacefaring civilization. And we have failed in our secondary objective, our own survival. Congratulations on your continued existence. And my condolences, for you have inherited a problem." The archivist felt his cognitive processes slow, struggling to reconcile. The hive was not an external threat, Vance continued. It was a weapon. A self-replicating, galaxy-scouring biocidal weapon, launched by a species we designated the Architects. We detected their probe 72 years ago. It was a seed. It analyzed our biological and technological distinctiveness, found us a threat to a galactic order we could not comprehend, and activated. It began converting our own biomass and technology into the first hive units. We fought it with everything we had. It learned, adapted, and used our own strategies against us. We were losing. She paused, removing her glasses. So we made a decision. If we could not save ourselves, we would save everyone else. Our greatest minds were not on battlefields. They were here. We reverse-engineered the hive's propagation signal. We cracked its core imperative. Seek divergence, eliminate it. And we rewrote it. We created a counter-signal, a broadcast that would piggyback on the hive's own networks. This signal did one thing. It made humanity the definition of divergence. To the hive, we became the brightest, loudest, most threatening anomaly in the cosmos. We became the ultimate target. Quiet Truth stood frozen, his manipulator still on the slab. The silent library seemed to press in on him. We focused the signal, Vance said, her voice growing softer. We lured every hive unit within 1,000 light years to Earth. We built our final stand here, not to win, but to be a trap. We concentrated their entire threat upon our one world. Our fleet, our armies, our last hope. They were a distraction. The real weapon was the broadcast, turning our planet into a beacon of hate for the monster. We let them come. We let them think they had found and exterminated a great danger. And when the last hive ship entered our atmosphere, when the last of us fell, the broadcast would emit a final, overriding command. Primary threat neutralized. Standby mode. Await new targets. She looked directly at the viewer, her gaze immense. We turned our extinction into a quarantine. We lured the sickness to one patient and burned it out. The hive that left this system was not a vanquished enemy. It is a dormant weapon. Its programming is reset. It awaits a new target. Your civilization. The hologram shifted. Schematics flooded the Airstar charts. Hive command pathways. The frequency of the standby signal. the location of the architect probe still drifting in the Oort cloud, the original source code. You now have a choice, Vance's final image said. You can use this data to assume control of the hive, to direct it, or you can use it to dismantle the weapon permanently. The choice is yours. We who are gone place our trust in you who remain. We did not know you, but we died to give you a future. Do not squander the peace we bought you. The transmission ended. The archivist stood in the profound silence. The hum of the data slab faded. Outside, the Confluence curation ship awaited his report, ready to place a dome over a quiet, dead world and call it preserved. He looked around at the mountains of books, the fragile paper holding symphonies, laws, love letters, and grocery lists. He had thought them a record of a dead species. He was wrong. They were the footnotes. The last act of humanity was not recorded here. It was recorded in the silent stars, in the absence of the hive, in the peace the Confluence now enjoyed. They had not been exterminated. They had performed a sacrifice on a scale the galaxy would never comprehend. They had seen a wall of fire approaching every living thing, and they had chosen to stand in front of it, not with a shout, but with a calculated, silent scream that drew the fire onto themselves alone. Quiet Truths deactivated his data stream to the orbital vessel. He carefully collected the data slab. His mission had changed. He would not be curating a relic. He would be delivering a warning, and a weapon, and a testament. He walked out of the library, the weight of the human legacy now a physical thing in his grasp. The sky above was clearing, a pale blue breaking through the clouds. A simple, forgotten sun shone down on a green and growing earth. It was not a tombstone. It was a monument. And as his ship ascended, leaving the quiet planet behind, the archivist understood the final, terrible truth. Humanity's story was not one of violation. It was one of guardianship. Their final chapter was not about how they died. It was about why. And for the first,